I'm kind of liking that this is my new routine. I wake up at midnight, I go to work for 8 hours, I come back here and feast on this delicious egg sandwich that I make every morning, and then I read Onision's book, and then I pretty much go to bed. And tell Sadie to stop scratching at everything. Okay, this is chapter 10. So, where we last left off, fucking, what happened? Greg's character just put Abby's dad in prison. I can't call him James because this is basically Greg. Okay. Chapter 10. The next morning I was surprised Davis didn't leap up to greet me as I walked on the bus with Abby. Some character development for Davis, perhaps? We sat across from him, but he just looked out his window, surrounding himself in a silent gloom while paying us no attention. "Hey, Davis, how are you today?" I asked. Davis replied without turning towards me. "Why don't you have a car?" What the fuck? Like, man, poor Davis was shattered into a million pieces by this, school shooting, and yet, we're never gonna know anything else about it. "You're 17. Only losers like me ride the bus." Oh, okay. He's just a self-deprecating loser. Just kidding. Abby gave me a look of concern. Though Abby didn't know Davis too well yet, she understood him to be a happier person. Like, I feel like what Greg considers happy, aka Davis and his random outbursts, I would say that's more attention-seeking behavior and lackeyism, if that's a word. Sadie, you're so silly. Neither of us expected Davis to say something so negative. Oh my God. Oh no, poor Davis. Everybody run. You know what? Like, at this point in the book, Greg, oh my God, I'm sorry. James and Abby, let's be proper here. James and Abby haven't had like a single conflicting thought. Every single character, I can't talk today. Every single interaction that they have with each other, he talks all about how they did this, and we expected this, and we thought this. Like, what's the point of even having two different characters if they have the exact same thoughts all the time? Oh, I know why. Because she's his great love. Oh, where are you? Where I responded to Davis. Oh my God. "Not everyone has a white picket fence life, Davis. Some people have to ride the bus." Okay. Davis turned angrily and spoke as he pierced me with the most intense glare I had ever seen. "You don't think I know that? You should get a job, buy your own car. What are you even doing with your life?" Alright, this came completely out of nowhere. What happened to all the, "he's my boyfriend, I love him," and all the other things that go along with that? I sat back, giving up on changing his mood, and thought to myself, happiness, as far as I care, can't be acquired through any means if love is not involved. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, he thought this to himself. I think people when they write, they put thoughts differently. Like when I have thoughts in my book, they're all italicized. I mean, he just thinks in quotation form. I mean, he's not even answering Davis. He just is ignoring him now and has this, like, happiness can't be acquired unless you have love involved. What I've seen, Greg really only has one definition of love, and that is, like, romantic love. And there's so many more different types of love, and it's kind of sad that he only sees one and can't fathom others. It's very strange. If I got a job on top of school, tarring the roof, no. Oh my god, I'd barely have any time to spend with Abby. So he closed the quote after saying if love is not involved, and now he's still clearly thinking to himself. Why even make a quote out of it? Maybe because he thought people were gonna fucking highlight it in this book. I needed her more than anything, and I thought Davis knew this. How? How was he gonna know that? You just said Abby doesn't know him at all. Oh, Davis was probably just upset over everything that had happened recently, and this was his way of coping. Remember the school shooting that turned out to be the most people killed in one school shooting ever in America? Jesus God. Trying to close the conversation on a less negative note, I said, "Well, buddy, I'm here if you need me," with the same tone he always used on me. He rolled his eyes, scoffed, and scooted closer to the window. Cool. Like, Davis just became my reaction to everything I read in this book. Abby remained next to me. Well, no shit. Like, where the fuck else is she gonna go? You guys are sitting on the bus. Running her fingers over the hairs on my hand. It was such a positive distraction. Oh, Jesus God. Oh my goodness, that was so cute. She covered her eyes with her hand. I've never seen her do that before. That was really sweet. What a cutie patootie you are. Later that morning, I found myself in my history class, staring at a very nervous Mr. Hanson. You all realize the President of the United Freaking States is going to be here, right? Like, when you're talking with your friends and maybe you bring up President Obama, do you refer to him specifically as the President of the United States? I know that here it's supposed to be an exclamatory, like, oh my God, the President of the United States kind of thing. But, I mean, we don't even know if it's like Obama at this point. Is that for any other reason other than, like, he doesn't exist in this universe? I don't know. It's weird. He asked the class. Most of the students looked confused, as we were not briefed when exactly we would see him. That is bullshit. Shit. They are gonna, when the president is involved, that shit is regimented. He's late a lot, but that happens out of his control. Ugh. A voice erupted as our classroom door was swiftly pushed open. What the fuck? The President of the United Freaking States is about to arrive, ladies and gentlemen. A large man wearing a black suit. Oh, said a large man wearing a black suit. Mr. Hanson laughed nervously over the fact that what we soon realized was a member of the Secret Service had overheard him. Oh my God. I'm sorry, but no Secret Service member would do that shit. Like, a Secret Service member has a bit more respect than that. Mr. Hanson turned to the class, and in a rushed tone he said, "All right, think before you ask the president anything. No stupid questions." Another voice came from outside the door. "You're right, Mr. Hanson, there are no stupid questions." We all froze to see it was the president who had spoken. Okay. As he walked in... What? I'm so confused. As he walked in the room, I quickly realized he was much taller than I had assumed from watching TV. The president centered himself in the room as the Secret Service asked Mr. Hanson to take a seat at his desk. 4 members of the USSS, United States Secret Service, but it just looks like 4 members of the US, stood behind the president. Like you can't even name the president? I don't understand this. This is so strange. I mean, I'm picturing President Obama, like, without a suit jacket on, just like a white shirt and a tie. And pants, obviously, and shoes, behind the president, and every single time president is capitalized. I'm not here to bring a dark cloud into this room. I want to be uplifting, to be helpful, and I want all of you to feel like you can say whatever you like without any fear of criticism or repercussion. Okay. Oh, there's no period after that quote, so it just goes, Chris Jenkins, the class clown, blurted out, "Why are you such a D-bag?" Like, oh, that's so Greg humor. That's so typical Greg. Like, oh my god. And why all of a sudden are we getting a character's last name besides a teacher? Like, at the class clown? Oh my god. Most everyone in the class sat in shock as Mr. Hanson violently lurched up like a frantic animal, yelling in a high-pitched tone, "Chris, how dare you disrespect the..." How many times are people gonna, like, violently do things in this book? That's, like, the 15th time somebody, like, he's used violently as a descriptor. Mr. Hanson, dot. Mr. Hanson, period. Close quote. The president interrupted. Fucking idiot. Thank you. A USSS member then asked Mr. Hanson to return to his seat. Okay. What? The president walked over to Chris, pulling his own pants slightly back so he could crouch. Why the fuck does he need to crouch? Are they all sitting on, like, are they all sitting on the floor? Or are they sitting in desks? Why does he have to crouch to, like, what, he's crouching to get to his eye level? Like, that's just weird. He pulled his own pants slightly back so he could crouch. So fucking mechanical. Now, you may feel I am what you said, a D-bag. It's capital D hyphen capital B-A-G. But you should know to address me as President D-bag, as I and many Americans believed I earned the title of president. Chris, now shaking and not knowing what to say, let out a nervous and horribly awkward chuckle. The president smiled and returned to the front of the room as he said, "Now what other questions do you all have for me?" You know, I really don't believe that even the most disrespectful kid is gonna say that kind of shit to the president, nor would he respond like that. The president smiled and returned to the front of the room as he... Oh, I'm sorry. I just read that. Oh, man. Okay, whatever. Literally everyone in the class aside from Chris raised their hand. Literally. The president looked directly at me and said, "James Patrick, the boy who nearly saved the day. What is your question?" Oh my god. Oh my god. Really? Like, I don't think that is accurate. I feel like he didn't do anything. He didn't save the day. He stood there. He left all of his fellow students writhing in pain. Like, the fucking president is not gonna know your goddamn name, idiot. I replied, "You know who I am?" He responded, "I've read up on this school and the recent events quite a bit. How are your feet healing up?" What the hell? I was overwhelmed, but I had to keep it together, so I quickly replied, "Really well, actually. The ambulance guys did an amazing job getting the glass and dirt out." The president followed with, "That's wonderful to hear. What was your question?" Even the president's like, "I don't care. I was just making polite small talk." I replied, I just wanted to know how you feel about the things people call you in the news and around the world. All right. The president gave a slightly sad smile and replied, I cannot and do not want to control what people say about me. All I can really fully control is what I myself am saying and doing. I find myself repeatedly stating that I came into office with the best intentions, and I continue to lead as president with those very same intentions. This feels like a thinly veiled way that Greg, sees himself. He's like, oh, well, I know what is said about me. All I can control is myself and not the other people. I feel like, it's very strange that the president of the United States, President Barack Obama, of all people, would give this sort of view to Greg's character. It's very strange. See, do you see her paw here? It's covering her eyes. Boop, boop. I want you to be seen. Some decisions I have to make aren't always fair to me, my family, or many people around the world, but sometimes your only options lie between the end of a slipknot or the blade, a guillotine. And that's the burden I chose to carry. The class paused for a few seconds, and then all at once, everyone but Chris ampersand myself raised their hands again. What is this, what is being accomplished right now? I'm just kind of wondering, the president is coming to speak to each class individually after a school shooting. But how is this moving the story forward? It's just kind of I don't know. Maybe we'll see at the end of the chapter, but probably not. One of the USSS members spoke up. Mr. President, we need to move on. What the fuck? Of course they have to move on after James gets his question. Excuse me. The president lifted his hand and said to the class, what? I want you all to know there are going to be some major changes around your school. I've approved a budget shift that will help fund significant renovations. A budget shift? And an effective security program that will promote a safer environment for everyone here. If you do it in one school, you gotta do it in all schools. Do you even understand, how the world works? The president can't just, decide all of a sudden. Maybe he can. I don't know. I feel like out of all the things that the president could do is just, a budget shift out of nowhere for more security, for, a kind of isolated event. That just seems paranoid to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. That's how I see it. I just feel like this is just so strange. I don't understand what any of this is accomplishing at this point. He closed the quotations and now he started a new paragraph and did open quotations again. So, fucking idiot. I will not stand by and do nothing when these incidents occur. Oh, excuse me. I am doing what any responsible person in my position would do to make you all feel safer in this learning environment. He then smiled as the USSS opened the door behind him. Thank you all, and Chris, remember our talk, okay? It was a long and lengthy talk. It was a really nice thing you said. Just call me President, D-Bag. Okay. Chris remained speechless as the president walked out. Mr. Hanson then stood up while looking at Chris as if he had just slapped Mr. Hanson's mother right in front of him. Shut up. Mr. Hanson maintained his glare as he walked to the front of the class. Oh my god, he said Mr. Hansen 3 times in 3 sentences. Holy crap, that is so repetitive. Mr. Hansen sighed deeply and looked down at the floor. He then asked, did anyone else almost pass out? What happened to this guy's, anger? He was, the big, fat, angry teacher. The class erupted with laughter as the teacher wiped sweat from his forehead with the towel he used as a whiteboard eraser. The towel smeared ink all over his forehead, which made us all laugh even harder. Unfortunately, I was faced with the reality that he would blame his humiliation on me if I didn't tell him right away. As my next period still required I act as a teacher's assistant for him. Capital T. Wow. He also didn't put the apostrophe correctly. He put teacher's S apostrophe. So it's a multiple teacher's assistant. The first thing Abby said to me when I met with her later that day in gym class was, oh my god. So it looks like Mrs. Stanley's getting a new desk. Oh, okay. I replied, the president? Yep, he met with you guys too. Didn't he say that, he was gonna meet with every class? Ugh. He was there for probably, less than 5 minutes. That's how you lead. I nodded and she added, in other news, Jason has been hitting on me. Not sure what to do about it. What the fuck? I replied concerned, just flirting, or is it heavy? She answered, I think the whole saving our lives thing went into his head. Went into his head. He just grabbed my butt in class after the president left the room. I went silent. Okay. This is getting just stranger and stranger. It's just all of a sudden the president of the United States was there, and then it's just yeah, no big deal. Whatever. He was here. Who gives a shit? Let's go to gym class and talk about how some random guy grabbed my ass randomly. Okay. Trying to reassure me. Oh, that was so cute. I love when she does that little stretch. Trying to reassure me, she said, I yelled at him not to do it again. I replied, did you talk to the teacher? She answered, Mrs. Stanley saw I was uncomfortable, and she said she would give him detention if he tried to do it again. Alright. Why is it that every single sentence seems to start with the action? She said, quote, I replied, quote, I responded, quote. That's just such an unpleasant way to start every single sentence. It's every little piece of his dialogue starts this way. You almost never see, you rarely see, quote, he said, she said, she replied. You never see that shit. I loved that she did everything I would have done, leaving no room for me to imagine potential alternatives to what she felt about Jason's chauvinistic act. What the fuck does that mean? Oh my god. Everything you would have done, which is teacher, he's doing it again, man. And then, that's it. I smiled slightly and said, well, thank you for telling me. She interrupted, what about you? Any girls grabbing your butt these days? No, because, why feel the need to, sexually harass somebody you're not going out with? And by that I mean, if I touched my boyfriend's butt, it wouldn't be a big deal. If he was don't do that, Giants, I'd be oh, okay. Sorry, you such a cute butt. I don't look at guys' butts. I think I can't do it. They're all so hairy. I replied with a slight smile. Nope, guess my butt just isn't as good looking as yours. She squealed and hugged me as the substitute walked in as blew his whistle. All right, everyone, let's play some badminton, the sub said, pronouncing everything as it was spelled. Like badminton? You know, that's how they pronounce badminton in like the UK. They say badminton, right? Raymond responded, "Don't you mean badminton?" Okay. The teacher replied, "I didn't, Rayman. Is that okay with you?" Now angered, he responded, "It's Raymond." The sub laughed and said, "All right, everyone. Do you want to see Rayman versus your sub in badminton?" Oh my fuck. A lot of us screamed. A lot of us. Just a bunch. A lot of us screamed, "Yeah," and so the game ensued. Oh my god. I'm surprised Greg knows a word like ensued. Raymond seemed to get hit with the birdie more than the actual racket did. What? That's not correct. What the fuck does that mean? Raymond seemed to get hit with the birdie more than the actual racket did. Like the racket hits the birdie. The birdie doesn't hit the racket, dumbass. We kept laughing because he was trying so hard to look cool, but kept failing repeatedly, and as a result looked completely goofy. Ooh. Like, I just, you know, there's no, like, picturing any of this shit, because, like, there's no, like, feeling associated with any of it. It's just so mechanical, and I know I've said that a lot, but it really is. Like, there's no emotion attached to any of these words. It's just like a sequence of events. After the teacher had scored on him for the 10th time, Raymond threw down his racket. The teacher loudly asked, so is that game no more badminton? Like that's how people in the UK say it. Badminton. Right? That's what I've always heard. Trying to sound tough, Raymond screamed, "This is a sissy game anyway." Someone watching yelled to everyone. Someone watching. "Uh-oh, watch out, he might try to shoot us too." What the fuck, really? We all went silent. One girl jumped up and walked off in a hurry. I could see she was holding her cries in until she could get out of the room. How could you see that? How could you see that from that fucking far away? If she's clearly out of the gym. And a gym is not a small space. It's a pretty fucking big place. Raymond angrily looked over at the person who made the comment. Like, can you give us some kind of descriptor on who it is? The individual who yelled put their head down. Oh my god, put their head down! No! No! I get so mad when I see singular, plural, non-agreement. Like, it pierces me right in the heart. The person put their head down. That is not right for the millionth fucking time. It may be colloquial. It may be how people speak when they're not thinking. But it's so painfully incorrect to put it in a novel. A novella. Look at Sadie piercing your eyes, piercing your soul. She's got a booger in her nose, but she hates when I touch her nose. Oh, let's keep going with this crap. Burr, 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 burr. They were obviously... See? They? Really? You're talking about one person and you use they? You goddamn idiot. Oh. They were obviously trying to avoid being pierced by Raymond's glare. Oh my god, I swear to god I didn't. Ugh, talking about piercing glares. See? Look at her foot. Look at her foot. Oh my god. Raymond then furiously walked off, throwing a tantrum by kicking a garbage can, while pulling his shirt as he passed through the boys' locker room entrance. Oh my god, that was like so many, like, and then this, and then this, and then this. Like, you know, if Raymond here is throwing a tantrum, it's completely justifiable. So for you to call it a tantrum is like, makes the narrator seem like an asshole. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, look, now you can't see Sadie. Now you can see Sadie. Like, the fact he called it a tantrum because the guy is upset that somebody made, my mom just texted me. Somebody made a joke that was too soon about a school shooting, and that's a tantrum. It's not a tantrum implies like there's really like no basis behind it. It's just like whininess for the sake of whininess sometimes, you know. So it's telling that the narrator called it a tantrum is all I'm saying. Let me just see what my mom texted me, okay? Give me a second. God. God. What the fuck? Okay, next time she texts me, I'm not gonna respond. I'm sorry. All right, everyone, pick a partner and start playing, the teacher said just before following Raymond into the locker room. Naturally, Abby was on my team, and we played against a couple of people who were equally unenthusiastic about the sport, so we basically just stood around talking about how dorky our uniforms were, and basically anything we could to keep our minds preoccupied. So that was a paragraph, and it was one sentence. God. Like, I just don't understand. I don't get how you can write and think that it's, like, okay to make run-on sentences like that. Like, you know, maybe there's gonna be a few run-on sentences, like, in a book, like, maybe for emphasis, or maybe, like, that's just how, like, everything is supposed to be written. But to do it to this extent, where it's, like, a paragraph doesn't go by without a run-on sentence, rarely, I just don't get how you think that this is going to be easy for your readers to read. Later that night at dinner, so we're now at dinner, we have no indication on how Raymond is doing. I mean, maybe James doesn't give a shit, but, like, why make even a big deal about it then, you know? Later that night at dinner, we had to put together a makeshift chair for Rick, as Abby was still staying with us. My mom began to talk about their move, so Rick let me know he's happy to help you cover your food, utilities, etc. It just doesn't, I think that's spelled correctly. It doesn't look right. While you stay here in the condo. So, okay, so they're leaving two 17-year-olds whose hormones are going fucking 400 miles a minute. You're letting them stay in a house by themselves. Something in the milk ain't clean. Stay here in the condo, period. She said. Oh my God. Abby and I looked at each other happily and hugged, excited that it was confirmed. Oh. That's where you need a comma. And hugged, comma, excited that it was confirmed. Except you didn't put one there, because you dumbass. Abby and I didn't have to move anywhere. Yeah, confirmed, so shut up. My mom continued, your sister is going to come with us. I looked at my sister and asked, what's up, sis? She just pushed food around on her plate and mumbled, it's whatever, I don't want to talk about it. My mom gave me a look that I should just drop it, so I did. Cool, I'm sure we're going to hear so much more about that, and we're going to learn more about the sister's character in the meantime. It's not fucking happening. Abby squeezed my hand. She was still smiling widely at me. I was pretty overwhelmed with what all this meant as well. Like, what else does it fucking mean? Like, what else could it mean? Your mom sucks because she's letting you stay at home for really no reason. One of the greatest pending burdens hovering over my head had been removed from my life completely. What? However ridiculous it sounds, knowing I could be separated from Abby to me was the equivalent of a doctor telling me I might have cancer, only to reveal later it was nothing. That is very strangely worded because you could be separated from Abby, except the equivalent is a doctor telling you have cancer, except you don't. So how does that correlate? Like, one is like a loss, but like one, I don't know. I don't think even Greg knows what the hell that was supposed to mean. I felt like I was getting my life back without really having it taken away in the first place. I was just gonna say, oh my god, you are just like all over me. I don't like it. I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry, I feel bad because every time I roll around, she like falls into it. My cavern more. My cavernous stomach. After dinner, Abby and I cuddled in bed while listening to some of her favorite bands. She would sing along to the songs, knowing most the words, as I just kept my eyes closed, paying close attention to how her skin felt pressed against mine. God bless you. God bless you. Oh no. Sneezy. Oh, God bless you. Gross. That was another paragraph that was just, it was 2 sentences, but they were still run-on ones. In that room alone with her, you didn't need to start a new paragraph, technically. I often found myself feeling like nothing else mattered. You've reiterated this several times in the novel already. It's getting a bit repetitive. She gave all my senses something to devour, to the point where I began to feel like the rest of the world barely existed at all. Oh my god, you said that already. Oh, you said that a sentence ago. I fell asleep listening to the sound of her beautiful voice softly singing. Oh boy, I really don't want to read it anymore. I'm only 37 minutes in. I guess I could read chapter 11 too. Let's do that. God damn it. Ms. Robertson, essentially the best therapist our tiny school budget could offer. Except your budget just grew because of the president. Oh, God. Sadie! Had called me in her office, just as she had many students before me, to get an update on how we were doing with all things considered. Yeah, we remember that there was a school shooting. We remember. We all remember. She greeted me in her usual way, slightly awkward, but attempting to seem sincere. I suppose it was hard giving it her all when she and many of her coworkers had been underappreciated and underpaid by her employers from day one. Oh my god, James. James. Like, I know in the beginning he said he likes to observe people, but he basically, it's gone to the point where it's past observation and it's become, mind-fucking reading. Ugh. Are you still with Abby? Abby, she firmly asked out of nowhere. I replied yes. She said, I'll be talking to her later today. How are things between you two? I answered again. Good, a lot of good things are happening. Mrs. Robertson looked skeptical and changed the subject. Then why even fucking bring it up? So you ran through the school barefoot during the shooting. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, this is the best therapist we could offer. Like, you change subjects to, like, a traumatic school, like, a traumatic subject. Oh my god. I replied, yes, I was looking for Abby. Again, Mrs. Robertson gave me a look of frustration and disbelief. Picking up on her consistent negative physical body language. Oh my god, that was so many adjectives! And verbal tone, I asked, is there something you're not telling me, Mrs. Robertson? She replied, I can't really tell you anything, not legally as far as I know. As far as, like, what do you mean as far as you know? You should fucking know. I'm gonna do my hair like this. I haven't pushed it to the side in forever. It's always parted down the middle, like the hippie that I am. Oh, big stretch. Ugh. I just hope you take my original advice. Be careful. Think twice about what you're doing. That's all I can say. I looked down at the floor, trying to figure out what she was talking about. So you're not at all depressed? She asked. Okay. I replied, no, not that I know of. She then asked, not that you know of? Oh my god, I'm so bored with how these guys talk. I replied, no, I'm not depressed. She nodded and said, well, that's, of course, good. Oh my god. That's not how fucking people talk. Mrs. Robertson walked over to her window overlooking the football field. Whoops, out back. Sorry. She mumbled something in a low tone I couldn't make out, and then said loudly, you can send the next person in, James. I was surprised by how cold Mrs. Robertson was acting towards me, but was happy to leave. Cold? I don't like, what the hell was that have to do with anything? Later in gym class, we were hoping to see Mr. Mack, although we knew it was unreasonable to expect such a fast recovery. Who is we? Who is fucking we? You were expecting to see him, not anybody else, unless you tell them and they said, yes, I was expecting to see Mr. Mack today. Abby was wearing one of my shirts when she first got in, smiling happily before she disappeared in the locker room. What? Okay. When she returned, I asked her, did you talk to Mrs. Robertson yet? Abby replied without hesitation, yes. Whoa. I then asked, what do you think of her? She replied, oh my god. Ugh. Ugh, it's so grating on my fucking brain. This book is like punching my brain in the center of the frontal lobe. I think she's a guidance counselor. What am I supposed to think? I was put off by her hesitation and by what I perceived to be an evasive response. I perceived to be... You fucking pretentious asshole. I paid close attention to Abby's voice and movements. Oh my god, fucking creepy at this point. Jesus God. Her tone was abnormally higher pitched when she spoke of Mrs. Robertson. That small detail stood out like a skyscraper piercing the clouds of an otherwise small town. Oh my god, like you are in like the discount metaphor bin. You have gone rooting around in that shit and like a lot of people have come before you. To me, she seemed ... You're psychoanalyzing me again, aren't you, James? Psychoanalyzing is 2 words. It's 1 word, dumb shit. She asked, interrupting my thoughts. I replied, feeling foolish. Yes, sorry. Why would you admit that to somebody? Jesus. She then replied, the world is full of critics. I don't want to fear judgment from you. Like, every single time one of these people speak, it's like they're in a play that is put on by a bunch of like stupid ass 4th graders and like a goldfish. Like no one just says the world is full of critics, like just like to preemptively talk about their own thoughts. It just seems weird. especially in like a kind of casual conversation. I understood her wishes all too well, but I felt justified in looking further into what may have really been going on. Why did you feel justified? Why? Why? Just because? Ugh. I replied, I was just asking about the guidance counselor. Your response might be revealing that there is in fact something I'm not yet aware of going on. Oh my god, this is so fucking manipulative. Something I probably should know about. Oh my fucking god! Even Sadie's giving me a look like, I know. James, stop, she said loudly. I decided to back off. She said loudly, comma, I decided to back off. Fuck. I didn't want to upset her, especially with the remaining school day pending. Oh my god. Pending? Fucking pending? Really? That was the most fucking manipulative shit I've ever heard coming out of James's fucking head. God damn it. I'm taking my shacks off. Having conflict looming over my head while trying to focus on class was unfortunately a near impossible and stress-saturated task for me. Ew. So I had to just let it go for now. Stress-saturated? No, but I don't think anybody in the wide world has ever strung those two words together. Congratulations, Greg. You've just discovered the dumbest fucking, like, phrase I've ever heard. There's still a lot left. Poopy poop poop, there's still a lot left. Ball sack. Ball sack! We arrived home later that day to find no one was home. Okay. Abby and I made dinner for each other, and once we finished eating, she asked me if I wanted to sit in the bathroom while she showered. Okay, never mind that in one sentence, like 15 occurrences happened. They got home, saw no one was home, they made dinner for each other, they ate the dinner, and then she asked him something. My shower curtains were thick and non-transparent, so while it would seem like a huge step in our relationship, it kind of wasn't. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you there. For the reason that, you know, I'm not gonna get into who I have showered with, but they were my boyfriends at the time. But I'm just saying, like, what kind of person thinks it's a good idea to sit in the bathroom while someone else is showering? Do people actually do that, or do people who are, like, insanely codependent do that? Okay. She started the shower water and closed the door while I cleaned the kitchen. Moments later, she yelled out, "James, I'm ready!" and closed the door again to keep the heat in the bathroom. Walking into the bathroom, oh my god, so mechanical. I could see the curtain was fully closed. Ooh. I said, "Hey, did you want to talk?" She replied, "Yeah, I'm sorry for putting up a wall earlier." Oh, so it's all her fucking fault? Oh, God. That was weird of me, right? I said, "That's okay. I mean, sometimes providing space is the best way to create more potential for personal growth." Ignoring the overly philosophical nature of my response, she replied, "I love you, James, and I don't want to hide anything from you." Like he thinks it's charming that he can be self-aware sometimes, like, but it's only like certain little moments in the book, and it becomes so, like, needlessly fucking pretentious. And like yeah, it's a big step in their relationship when they're living together and they're already like professing their love for each other. When they've known each other, I don't even know how long this has passed. Maybe a month. Maybe a month. Okay. I said I love you too. I know this may sound boring, but I basically shared every major story in my life with you already. She replied, I know. It's really nice to be with someone who I can actually trust. No painful surprises. You know, like, I'm not gonna say, like, I don't know, I'm just comfortable like this. I'm not gonna say, like, every relationship, like, I don't know, I'm not a fucking expert on relationships by any means, but I'm just saying, like, you gotta be able to trust somebody, but trusting somebody doesn't necessarily mean you are in sync with every little fucking detail with them. That's what I don't understand. That's what I just don't get, these, like, relationships that Greg talks about. I want you to snuggle with me now, and you don't want to. You're such a piece of butt. You're such a piece of butt. Ow! Okay. I'm so hungry. Ugh. Sadie is biting me again. Ow. Ow. Watch. This is more interesting. You're such a butt. Ah! Ow! Ow! I'm gonna shove you off the bed. Just kidding. Where am I? I paused and thought for a way to lighten the mood. I then said, of course, it takes a much more mysterious person than me to be deceptive, you know. What? I'm kind of like a window that way. She remained silent. I don't think you are a window. You're the most non-transparent person ever. 'Cause you fucking hate everybody. You have disdain for everybody. Ugh. After a couple minutes of thinking, she spoke up, saying, oh my god. What do you mean a couple minutes of thinking? Mrs. Robertson hates me. Hearing this, I felt reassured in my earlier suspicions. You are so selfish! Oh my god! Ow, my neck. Ow, I'm stuck. Oh, I could now see it was safe to continue digging. Whoa! Whoa! Wow! Holy fuck! You're talking about trust and shit. Good God! If somebody doesn't want to fucking reveal something to you, you don't fucking dig. Good God! What the hell's wrong with this guy? It was safe to continue digging? I have never in my life had a thought like that. When someone's like, I don't want to talk about it, I don't fucking pry. You know why? Because I'm not an asshole in that respect. I'm an asshole in other respects. That's for goddamn sure. Ugh. Something smells really good, by the way. Somebody must be cooking something in the another apartment, and I, like, kind of want it. Okay, I asked, why would she hate you? She went silent for a moment. I used to see her a lot. I don't know. I just struggled a lot before I met you. She said, I met you, period, close quote, capital S-H-E. Capital she said. Fuck. I spit. Thinking about what she was saying, I felt overwhelmed. It was the very same sensation I experienced every time she reminded me of how important I was to her. I felt so unworthy, like I was given a gift intended for royalty, not someone as insignificant as myself. This is just like the weird dichotomy that is Greg, and this, I think, it probably happens to a lot of people, maybe not on this magnitude and this scale, but there's sometimes, like, I can only use myself as an example because I know myself better than anybody, but, there's times where I have very high self-esteem. I think I do have high self-esteem, and I'm like, yeah, I'm awesome. And then, like, there's days where I'm like, if, like, a really hot guy tells me I'm hot, which has happened, I'm like, what? Me? No. No. Like, it's this weird, like, narcissism, and I know I can be very narcissistic, but the level that Greg talks about things, like, he comes off as this, like, perfectly imperfect hero. Like, he proclaims that he is, like, a hero to the downtrodden, but yet, at the same time, like, talks about how imperfect and how unworthy about shit he is. That, like, when you constantly talk about that, and you constantly have these, like, these kinds of ideas, I think it's very odd how he is portraying himself in this respect. I'm not gonna cut this out. Aw. My friend, who's a news reporter, was like, "Hey girl, I have a question for you." Sorry, my email is all fucked up, cause... Oh wait, maybe it's not. It might be. Let me just finish. Like, Greg's whole, I just think the way that Greg portrays himself is very strange, and it's kind of telling. Like, the whole, like, you know, it's like he doesn't say outright how much better he is than everybody. It's heavily implied, but he'll like elaborate in, like, ridiculous detail about how imperfect and how unworthy and how, like, oh, I'm so flawed all the time. It's very strange. It's very strange. I feel like a person should be able to talk about their good traits as well as their faults, and have a good balance there. But when you don't have this balance, it turns into this cockamamie shit. Sorry, I have to do work stuff on BlackBerry. I replied, trying to encourage Abby. Whatever you were going through before we were together, I mean, I wouldn't say I love you if I wasn't willing to stand by you through everything. Manipulative! Manipulative! She listened and stood in silence for a short time after. I imagined her mind racing to piece everything together. I think she was trying to create a definitive picture of who we were together. Why do you think that? I felt she wanted some simple visual aid to sum it all up. She wanted to give it a name. She had all the stitches, fabric, and stuffing. Was she sewing it all together? Get it? It's like the bear in the beginning. Derpin, 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 and derpin, and derpin all around the world. Looking away from the shower towards the bathroom door, I heard the sound of the curtains opening beside me. Look at me, James, she said in a more collected tone. I looked over at her to see her completely naked body standing before me. Well, no shit, she's fucking completely naked. Do you see why the school therapist would have a problem with me? She asked. I was in awe. My heart was suddenly pounding in my chest. Well, that's where your heart normally is. And I could barely think clearly. Oh my god, barely think clearly. Ugh. I was consumed with thoughts of how perfect she looked. How everything I had imagined was a poor imitation of what reality was now showing me. Was now showing you? Now? No. Apparently, this is all in past tense. Don't change tenses, man. I see, I said, struggling to speak. She asked, what, James? I'm broken? I'm wrecked? I'm worthless now? What the fuck? I quickly replied, I see perfection, nothing else. She stood before me, frozen, her arms still holding the curtains back. Staring at me, I could see what I had said was racing through her mind. God, no, you couldn't! In a soft tone, she asked, is this really perfection, James? As she began pointing out the scars on her body from self-harm. But before she could get past the first few, I began kissing every scar within my sight. I wouldn't have a fucking problem with this if Greg did not constantly shit all over people who self-harm. Like, he says, like, these insanely horrible things about people who self-harm. He says, like, oh, they're all privileged white girls who just do this shit for attention. But because somebody that he's close to does it, like, it's suddenly okay. Like, it's just fucking sick. Like, this is just sick right now. This is just fucking pandering at this point. Ugh. Like a dam rapidly cracking open, she began to pour out. As I kissed her marks, I continued kissing despite her whimpers. I knew this meant everything to her. Scared me. I wanted to show her how much I loved every part of her, so I kissed and kissed as her body shivered, still so warm, but consumed by sadness and the fallout of a now retreating fear. What the fuck? What, like, could you just, like, come up with rational-sounding words for a second? I slowly made my way up to her lips and looked deep into her eyes. I was still completely clothed, but had stepped entirely into the shower. Oh, God. Okay, she and I kissed heavily as I held her naked body against me. That was so, like, Southern Belle. We kissed heavily as I held her naked body against me. Because he didn't put I, he put A. In an instant, we were interrupted with a soul-shattering... I want to do Southern Belle voice. In an instant, we were interrupted with a soul-shattering, thunderous bang on our home's entrance door. Abby looked away and then back at me with a panicked expression. Okay. A thunderous bang on our home's entrance door. Just say on the fucking door! The front door! The front motherfucking door. Oh. Ball sack. Balsacamus. Hang on. What does this mean? What do all these things mean? Oh, okay, good. Finally. I can enter my new password. Sorry, really quick. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I whispered in her ear. Don't worry. I left a distraction. You can slip into my room safely. What do you mean you left a distraction? What the fuck does that mean? Abby gave a slight smile and nodded. In the background, my mom let out a loud and sarcastic, "Oh, great!" having seen exactly what I hoped she would see near the entrance. Abby wrapped a towel around her and, without hesitation, darted across the hall to my room. What happened? I remained in the bathroom, now pulling off my clothes to shower and avoid further confrontation. "Who knocked the trash over?" my mom screamed as I quietly laughed to myself. What the fuck, are you, a little puppy? That, can't, how did he know that, when did that happen? Who thinks like this? I don't understand. It was quite ironic that I knocked it over, considering I was supposed to clean the kitchen, but when Abby called me into the bathroom, I figured my mom might not be happy with me being in there with her. But the mom doesn't live there anymore. Obviously she doesn't care, right? She was just another parent horrified by the idea of teen pregnancy. 2 more pages, thank God. I'm so over it. As I finished my shower, I could hear my mom muttering in the kitchen about how she was tired of cleaning up after people. See, I was doing like a Southern Belle accent. Let's do some Bayou, "Sorry, Mom," I yelled, and she replied, "You're lucky I love you, otherwise this would not fly." I replied, "I know, I love you too. I'll vacuum the whole house later to make up for it." I said as I closed my door. Fuck you, James. Seriously, just fuck you 1,000,000 times and a half. Upon my door latching closed, Abby leapt on me, wrapping her pajama-covered legs around me. My towel fell around my ankles as I dropped my soaked clothes to hold her. Penis is exposed. She looked down to see me fully naked and laughed. Good! Good, I'm glad. I want people to point at Greg's wiener and laugh all the time. Sorry. That's not appropriate. You're so cute. Oh, so cute and snuggly. It's so cute and snuggly. Ugh. I quickly pointed out in a positive tone, fuck you and your positive fucking tone, how awkward her reaction was, because that's what a guy wants to hear. She replied, "No, I'm just surprised that happened. Sorry to knock your towel off." She jumped off and kissed me quickly on the lips, only to drop down to grab my towel. I hate this book. I hate it. I hate how this is happening right now. These are two 17-year-olds. I should not be fucking, talking about their panasia and naked bodies. As she rose back up slowly, she stopped for a nerve-wracking moment. Nerve, W-R-A-C-K-I-N-G. You know what? I actually never know how to spell that word, and I use it in banners all the time, and I always am so terrified I'm going to spell it wrong. I thought it was nerve, W-R-A-C-K-I-N-G. I don't know. It might not be that. Who knows? I said, "Hey!" and she laughed innocently, quickly wrapping the towel around my waist. Abby then stood up, continued to continue kissing me. Abby then stood up completely to continue kissing me. God, could you make your sentences, any more fucking boring? That night, as we cuddled in bed, I said, "You know, you really do look amazing naked." She laughed and said, "Shut up," laughing some more. Redundant City. Welcome to Redundant City. Population, this story. That's not my joke. I got that from somewhere. I replied, "No, I'm serious. You're so perfect. Every part of you looks better than I could ever imagine." She looked back at me as I rested behind her. "Kiss me," she said. We began kissing heavily once again, this time sliding off each other's clothes. Though we didn't try to go any further than just being physically close. That's the statement! Though we didn't try to go any further than just being physically close. That is a statement. That's not a full sentence. We would lie there, kissing and loving the feeling of each other without any barriers. We fell asleep in each other's arms, our hair a mess, so comfortable we didn't care about anything but being together. That night, I felt I was closer to her than anyone in my entire life. The motherfucking end. How am I still reading this? I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm taking an hour out of my day every day to fucking do this. But then again, you know what? I'm one of those people that doesn't take their work home with them. I work. I just have to make sure I'm up on all the current news. And we're good. However, hi Sadie, you're so cute. However, Greg's writing continues to get worse. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. While I'm reading it, I'm I don't know who these people are that actually bought his book, that actually think it's a good book. And just, how does he have the audacity to put out a book that isn't even properly copy edited? Or even, the punctuation isn't even right. Jesus Christ on a cross. And the dialogue is so, it's like more painful than I could ever even imagine. Oh my Christ. Oh, okay guys, that is fucking it for me. We got fucking 8 more chapters to go, so like soak it all in. I'm gonna go. Later, bitches.